everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out in the shop with another video for you today. And at today's shop, guys, we got a special one for you. In today's shop, we're talking about a pretty new style of lure that's sort of a hybrid between existing techniques. And guys, this thing is catching a ton of fish. And in this week's shop, we're talking all about this new lure called the Berkley Finisher, okay? The Finisher. All right, let me get into why I'm so excited about this and why I consider it a hybrid lure. Guys, when you look at the Finisher, your first thought is it's a jerkbait, right? You look at that bait, you think it's a little jerkbait. And it does have that minnow jerkbait profile, right? Has the eyes, has the colors, the look, the length. But when you look at it, there's no bill, okay? So it's not a jerkbait. The other thing when you look at it, you say, oh, it kind of looks like an ice jig, right? If you're an ice fisherman or you fish deep water, you know about some of the ice jig style lures. And you're kind of like, yeah, it looks like an ice jig, right? Like it has the hook facing up on the back, and that's not an ice jig, right? Look, there's no line tie in the middle, right? The line tie's up toward the head. And the last thing you think of is, oh yeah, it might be metal, like it's a metal blade bait, right? But when you look at this bait, it's not metal. This is a plastic bait, and it's got some really, really unique features to it. So it's a hybrid style bait that is perfect for when the fish get low, get deep. And there's no better time to talk about this Finisher, guys, than right now. The cold water period, it's phenomenal. I love this Finisher in the extremes, okay? So ultra cold water, wintertime fishing, like now, all the way up to the pre-spawn, phenomenal. The other extreme, it's really good too, is ultra hot water. When those fish get really deep in the heat of the summer, when the fish get a little suspended around bait in the summer, it can be just as good. But this is the Finisher. This is a hybrid style lure. Some of the features of this thing, by the way, let me mention that you know how I'm really big into matching the hatch. Well, we've got different sizes of the Finisher, guys, okay? So we've got a 5, and that 5's pretty little. Let's see here. I think it's about 2 inches. Then we go up to a 7, and there's that 7 is just about 3 inches long. And then we've got that 9, and you look at that 9, and that's almost a 4-inch bait. Okay, so we've got some different sizes, some amazing colors, just unbelievable colors. Things they could do in jerkbait style lures, they're doing in this Finisher. But there's a couple big keys to this bait, and I want to show them to you. The first one is that design of the body. If you look at it, it kind of has a little bit of a banana shape to it. That's going to be real important as I show you the techniques to retrieve this. And that banana shape is going to give it a little additional action, okay? When you look at the nose of that bait, we've got a really flat front to it. So in one of the techniques that we're going to use it, that flat nose is actually going to give it a little different movement. Super, super important. But how this bait is weighted and the line tie are the 2 biggest keys to this lure, guys, okay? And if you were to look at, I'm trying to give you a look at the clear Finisher. This one is like a ghost shad. It kind of has a more of a translucent finish. You're going to see that it is strategically weighted so this lure stays balanced and stays horizontal in the water column. If you've been following professional bass fishing and this forward-facing sonar thing, you know that fishing a soft minnow, it's key to keep it balanced and horizontal. This thing's going to stay perfectly balanced. And last but not least is that line tie. And that line tie is pushed back in the head, and that line tie is perpendicular to the body. And that's really key too, okay? So killer design, it's got trebles on the bottom. And I love that because, you know, a lot of times when you're fishing a minnow bait on a jig head in the winter in cold water, you get fish that will nip it, right? They'll hit the back of the tail. Well, the hook and the jig head are at the front, so they nip at the tail. Or a lot of times when that water's cold or super hot and you're using a regular jig head minnow, they just headbutt it. They kind of like hit it and slash at it and leave. You'll never hook those fish with a jig head minnow. But with the finisher, you've got two trebles just like a jerkbait, and you're going to get a lot of those fish that nip. Look, they nip the tail, you're getting them. Or if they headbutt it, even from underneath, a lot of times they'll come up and headbutt it, you're going to get them. So I like that it's got trebles. I like that you get a lot of those missed fish that you'd get with a minnow. I really want to get into now the 3 techniques we're going to use when we're fishing this finisher. Now guys, keep in mind, 100%, this is a lure that really fills that finesse gap for me, okay? So it's spinning rod, lighter line, but with these 3 techniques, we're going to be able to catch these fish that are semi-lethargic. Cold water, warm water, this is going to be the bait to make them bite. We're going to trigger them with these 3 retrieves. I also want you to keep in mind, before I get into these 3 techniques, keep in mind that using the finisher in conjunction with your technology, with your electronics, is the ultimate way to fish this bait, okay? And I'm talking about 2D, if you're using 2D sonar, or if you're using down imaging, or especially if you're using forward-facing sonar. This can really let you put the bait right on the fish, right at the level of the fish, and right on the fish every time, okay? So utilizing the finisher with technology is going to help even more. All right, guys, let's get into it. And these are the 3 techniques that I'm going to use with this lure, especially during the extremes, cold water included, okay? And the first one is a technique that is a lot like the technique you would use for an ice jig or a metal style bait, okay? Ice jigging, a spoon, a blade bait, a tail spinner, right? Metal style lures, very similar to that. And we're going to make this lure rise and fall, rise and fall. And when we do that, this is the key to this finisher, guys, okay? If we were using, let's say just a regular, let's call it a tail spinner, okay? When you hop it, make those little hops, you're going to see it in a second. That lure goes up and falls down in the same path, okay? Same path. But like an ice jig, when we hop the finisher, this thing's going to rise and fall. Completely different every time. You heard me talk about the way that that lure is weighted and balanced, right? And because of that, we get a very erratic fall and rise and fall and rise. And the best way I can describe it, on every hop, it never falls the same twice. It's always different. And when it falls, it looks like it's trying to escape, okay? You know, a lure that you're, like a tail spinner, you're jigging up, falling down in one spot. But this thing, you're jigging it up, and it's falling down. Jigging it up, and it wanders. It almost spirals a little. And that is the movement that will make these fish react. Remember, extreme conditions, ultra cold water, super hot water. Dude, the fish are lethargic. You got to make them react. And that loose, unpredictable nature of the fall is what makes those fish bite. It looks like something real that's dying or trying to get away. Okay, so we're basically going to fish it like an ice jig, fish it like a blade bait. We're going to make the cast, and we're going to get it to the level of the fish. Most cases, I'm talking about with this technique, fish that are lower to the bottom. Extreme cold in the winter like right now, or extreme hot in the summer, a lot of fish get real low to the bottom. And once that bait gets down there to that zone of that fish, I'm just going to make short little hops. And they're going to be, best way to describe it, I'll give you a rod positioning. I'm going to go from about 3 o'clock and I'm going to lift up to about 1 or 2, okay? The colder the water, the shorter the lift. The warmer the water, the higher the lift. But even when that water's hot, I'm not jerking it, like sweeping it way up here. Basically like 3 to 1, boom. 3 to 2, boom. So I'm going to lift and I'm going to let it fall. Guys, the most important thing about the fall is that when you let that finisher fall back down, it's got to be on a semi-slack line, okay? Because if I do that little rise technique from 3 to 1 and I just stop and I let it fall on a tight line, guys, it just pendulums. We don't want that. Every other lure does that. When we make that rise, we want to make it rise and then intentionally put slack in the line and follow it back down to the bottom, okay? We're never rising up far enough that you need to open your bail. We're just going to use our body. Slacken the line, bow to it, boom, hits the bottom. And that first technique, that jigging technique, that ice jigging technique, is really effective for when the fish are low toward the bottom. A regular fall every time, that's what makes the fish bite, okay? So technique number 1, just jigging, like ice jigging, okay? Technique number 2, and guys, this one is another phenomenal technique, really starts to get fish that are more vertical, fish that are more underneath your boat. And I really, really, really love this one when I have a bottom that's more severe, a drop that's more severe, okay? So like 80, 90 degree fall off on a deep bank, a channel swing that goes straight into the channel, a bluff, perfect, a deep seawall, a deep dam face or a bridge piling when it's more vertical. And the next technique with the finisher, we're basically going to fish it just like a diki rig, okay? We're going to diki fish this one. And literally, guys, we're not even casting it, right? We're on these steep vertical breaks or bluff-style banks. And again, if you have technology, use it. So if I'm utilizing down imaging or forward-facing, I see the level of the fish, guys, I'm literally dropping it. Almost like a diki rig or a spoon, I'm dropping it to the level of the fish, and here it goes. You ready? Once it gets there, watch what I'm doing with my rod. You ready? Nothing! I'm not doing anything. I'm basically trying to leave the lure in place, and I'm maybe making little tiny quivers with my hand, but I'm leaving it in place. And guys, you heard me talk about the weighting and the line tie, and this is where the finisher shines, because this lure, even when you're just holding it, it's going to have a little movement, right? Nobody's perfectly still. Put your hand in front of your eye and look at it. We all shake a little bit. So even on a dead stick, this lure is going to have a little movement, but the key to this diki style, the lure is perfectly horizontal. It's perfectly horizontal. And that is real. That is the triggering agent to that fish. He's under the boat. You see the mark or you see where the bait's at. You drop it to him. You get it at the level. If you're using forward facing, the finisher shows up great on forward facing. And you're just leaving it there. Maybe a little couple shakes. And you can see the bait's horizontal. And those fish really feel like it's a bait fish that's lost or lethargic or injured or disoriented. And it's just sitting kind of horizontal. So method number 2 for the finisher is the diki style, right? Retrieve. Just basically letting it sit there. Remember, get it to the level of the fish, let it sit, maybe a little bit of quivering, and those fish are going to attack it. All right, guys, last retrieve technique, and this one is one of the most effective ways to fish the finisher, but it's one of the most under talked about. You're hardly ever going to hear any of the other bass guys or walleye guys give this one up, because this one's trick, guys. And in this last technique, we're literally going to slow stroll this lure back to the boat. I want to point out real quick before I get into it, that front flat face, and you got it on every single size, the 5, the 7, the 9. And that front flat face with that line tie positioning, as I slow stroll this bait, it's actually going to go like this, guys. It's going to swim. Doesn't have a lip. It doesn't have a cup. It doesn't have anything else other than that flat spot. And when I slow stroll that lure, it's going to wander. It's going to wander side to side. When it wanders, guess what it does? It rolls a little and it flashes like crazy. It throws off that subtle flash just like a real bait fish, okay? So a great replacement, guys, for finesse swim bait, for minnow on a jig head, mid strolling, hover strolling. You know, again, listen, 2 trebles, not one little tiny 90-degree hook near the head, not a little jig head, 2 trebles. So in this last technique, I call it slow strolling, but it's a perfect fit for that mid-strolling, hover strolling style. You know, once again, guys, utilize those electronics if you have them. 2D, down imaging, side imaging, forward facing for sure. And get to the level of the fish. If you don't have electronics, change the level every 5 or 10 casts until you find them. But basically, guys, in this slow strolling technique with the finisher, all I'm doing is slow reeling it and trying to keep it at the level of the fish, okay? Honestly, I would call it like a slow to medium retrieve. Bait's got a little bit of lift, but for the most part, it stays in that zone, okay? And I'm just going to let this bait do its thing. I'm going to just slow, middle of the road, slow to moderate retrieve. And if I don't get bit after, let's say, 10 or 15 cranks, I just throw in a real short pause, and then I get back to it, just to mix that up a little bit. But every time I'm just reeling, it's just slowly shaking back and forth. All right, guys, one little tip, though, before I end this one, this slow strolling, is I found that you always want to keep these finishers at the level or slightly above the fish that you're seeing, especially if you're using electronics, right? So if I see a fish that's in 10 feet over 30 foot of water, I slow stroll that right at his level, 10 feet, or just above, okay? I don't really want this bait to be at his level and then go away from him. I want to keep it at his level, make it easy for him to get it, or make it rise. And when that bait's rising, like a jig head minnow, those fish kind of want to feed up, okay? So just a last little tip, if you're using electronics, as you're slow strolling that finisher, keep it at the level of the fish or the bait or slightly above them, and you're going to get a lot of bites. Real quick on tackle, you heard me mention it earlier in the video, but all 3 sizes, even the 9, guys, to me, this is a finesse style presentation. I'm using a spinning rod for all my finisher techniques. Anywhere from, let's call it a 6'8" to maybe a 7'6" rod is great. I really like the 7 or 7'2" rods. They're great. This is a 7-foot medium, a Zabu Garcia Ike series 7-foot medium spinning rod. It's perfect. You know, a 20 or a 30 or 2,000 or 3,000 size spinning reel, whatever your favorite spinning reel is, I would say you want it to have a moderate gear ratio, okay? That's the Ike Series 3.0. It's got a 6:8:1 gear ratio. Last but not least, guys, line real quick on this finisher. It will for sure work on straight fluorocarbon, no doubt, if you get in a current situation. But my number one way that I fish this finisher, and I'd say 90% of the time, is light braid, 8 to 10 pound braid. This is that Berkley X5 on a short fluorocarbon leader. And I'm going to call it, 8 to 14 inches of fluorocarbon leader. And I really like, 6 in total open water, 8 super sparse cover, 10 a little bit thicker cover, but no heavier than 12. I really like the 8 or the 10. Just a short little length of fluorocarbon. And that fluorocarbon is going to be invisible. So if that fish is inspecting it, he's not going to see the line. But also that little length of fluorocarbon is going to let that bait get a lot of action, okay? It's going to maintain all that action. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I love and hate exposing these new baits because new baits, hybrid baits like this one, really show the fish something different. Hope you enjoyed this one, talking all about the Berkley finisher. If you're fishing in the extremes, extreme cold, wintertime like right now, or the heat of the summer, give this one a try. Try those 3 techniques and you're definitely going to catch some bass. Guys, I hope you enjoyed these videos. If you like what you're hearing, if you like what you're watching, please subscribe to the channel. Become a subscriber. Lots of benefits, guys. If you're already subscribed, do me a favor. Tell your friends about the channel. It's Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. We're here to help you learn a couple things and hopefully catch more fish. We'll see you at the next one. Bye. Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out in the shop. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, you have to check out that one, and I hope you like them.